Well, the time had finally... The absolute evil approached New King's Ending. It was happy to be whole again. This division, had been nothing but one giant headache. All the while it was throwing itself into battle here, its creatures were diligently producing mana that trickled steadily into it over time. Moreover, it also had access to the faction's spells, the best of them. We don't need to waste time on piddling little generic spells. The massacring evil stomped another group of defenders into the dirt. The gate to New King's Ending was secured by a consecrated object. Honestly, it made the absolute evil giggle. Or, it would have giggled if it had ever made a sound. Anyway, of course, that was no obstacle. After all, it had merged with Barthas and could also use his fantastic skills. The place was desecrated, the gate to the city open. With determined tread, the absolute evil marched forward.
God will protect us.
A cemetery has been desecrated and now calls the undead from their graves. Absolute evil tore apart a group of defenders with ease. The absolute evil reached one of the inner gates of New King's Ending. The Alliance had barricaded it well. It would be difficult to break through there. But then, out of nowhere, or more precisely out of the fog of war, a death bolt appeared. The absolute evil made a mental note to rename the creature sometime soon. The death bolt shot at a small stash of dynamite, which by happy coincidence was stored here, and blew a passage through the rock. Through it poured a flood of horde creatures who willingly cut their lord a path. Lo and behold, the gate was open. The absolute evil had now conquered another large area of New King's Ending. It decided to let the Horde secure the area. One may consider it unwise, but the Barthas in the absolute evil wanted to confront Melty Sand alone. Stupid idea. The all-destroying evil reached the large square, the last bastion before Melty Sand's retreat. The Alliance had positioned their last great army here. Demons were supposed to attack it, but the portals were kept closed by Alliance mages. With the demons' help, the place would be overrun in a flash. The cunning evil knew what to do.
You cannot win. You may have made it this far, but that won't help you. The fire god's sacred stones protect this place. The altar is safe.
The woman has no idea. It somehow never occurred to Melty Sand that the sacred stones unfortunately lay virtually unprotected and could therefore be destroyed. So, absolute evil marched in.
Wait, what are you doing? You can't attack the stones! Soldiers, keep it back!
The absolute evil reached the first of the two sacred stones that made up the altar's protective barrier. It would require a couple of stout blows and a modicum of brute force.
Stop it! The stone must not be destroyed! You may have destroyed one of the stones, but the second is well guarded, and its power alone is sufficient to maintain the barrier. The good shall triumph.
Let me just say, that was just the first blow, and the second is right behind it.
Heroes of the Alliance, defend the sacred stone. It must not fall. The altar must be protected.
Melty Sand actually believed that she and her miserable defenders could stop the unstoppable evil. How cute. Unimpressed, the absolute evil began to destroy the second sacred stone.
God will destroy you!
The second sacred stone fell victim to the absolute evil's blows. The path to the altar was free. It was time for the Alliance leftovers to wet their pants and pray to all the gods they'd ever heard of.
Remain steadfast, men. The altar is still in our possession and active. We can still win! For the Fire God!
The area was secured, the altar almost within grasp. The absolute evil directed its demonic subjects to guard the place, and proceeded on alone. If you want something done right, do it yourself, thought the absolute evil.
What does not kill me makes me stronger. Through the fire, I have been reborn. New King's Ending will never...
Oops! That was it for the absolute evil. Somehow, I had expected a bit more, because that was pretty pitiful. But hey, let's not argue so close to the end. In fact, the absolute evil wasn't dead at all, but had only slipped on its long coat, or something like that, whatever. It got right back up and kept on fighting.
I shall return from the fire. I am back.
The first cracks appeared in the altar. Excellent! That's the stuff!
Protect the altar! It must not be destroyed. What does not kill me makes me stronger.
The altar was almost destroyed, but only almost. Come on, finish the stupid thing off! It was done. The altar of rebirth was in ruins, and Meltisand lay next to it on the floor, dead. The absolute evil had triumphed. Excellent work, my friend. I've read that the developers have really raised the level of difficulty. You can be proud of yourself. I'm not going to say any more here because that all comes in the outro sequence, but it was a lot of fun. See you in part 3. Oh, wait. I wasn't supposed to say that. I mean, maybe we'll hear from one another again someday. Since the ultimate evil had already laid waste to the altar of rebirth, it could be certain that this time her demise was now permanent. Moreover, never again would a hero of the Alliance rise from the dead. They would henceforth simply lie there and rot once they had been struck down. It was a glorious victory, through and through. Not only was the absolute evil restored and had united the evil nations, it had also handed the do-gooders an annihilating defeat. Horde, demons, and undead cheered their champion. An era of terror began for the kingdoms of the Alliance, an eternal reign of evil. But would evil's rule truly last forever? After all, every evil tends to attract heroes with more luck than skill, who then defeat it. Should the reign of evil already be counting its days, then? You know how it is. All good things come in threes.